Fanspeak, where the plan runs deep. The team grind hard, don't eat, don't sleep. From best ball dreams to DFS streaks, they help you print money every single week. No cap, no gimmicks, we breaking limits. NFL bets, yeah, we live this business. Megan Steve, that OG vision. Draft room killers on a lifelong mission. More stress to the Sunday spread. Fanspeak's that voice that's inside your head. Best ball, DFS, NFL bets. They built it brick by brick, no regrets. Fanspeak team, printing money since day one. Fanspeak, forever.
Welcome back to another Best Ball lunch break. Talking ball with Steve Speak. We're back in the DraftKings streets on Tuesday as normal. It is now officially July. We are in first weekend of July. Training camp is just a couple weeks away. That's when we start to get the real news. Until then, we of course have to speculate on still a lot of stuff. But there's some things we don't need to speculate on, and that's Brandon Ayuk is pretty crazy and probably shouldn't sign anywhere. So I'm definitely not going to be drafting him from here on out. But that is quite the story that seems to keep happening every day. I saw he said he's not going to look for reinstatement from the 49ers and is using Commanders hashtags despite just trashing them 2 days ago. So the saga that never ends. Hopefully he gets some help and starts to be out of the news. We got Jamie in here. Good to see you. We got Mike Robb. I'm biased, but my DK streams are my favorite. I wonder why. Wonder what that is. We got Meg checking in. Good to see. Yes, good to see everyone in chat. We'll get into some draft shortly. Talking. The prompt for today, tight ends, and talked about it some before. I do think it's very different, not just the full PPR aspect, but on DraftKings, the bonuses. Other positions we can kind of understand what players are going to hit bonuses 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Tight ends is kind of an anomaly. Like, you'll be lucky if a tight end has more than 100-yard game, even a 100-yard game. Those are very, very rare. So I don't think we should be basing it on that. But what I do think is with the way that ADPs are, that's not being factored in. The other running backs and receivers being taken in the similar ranges as the tight ends as they are on not just Underdog, but on like a full point PPR site like Drafters. They have that 100-yard equity. So they are getting a bonus, and hitting it 4 times, hitting it 5 times, that's significant. 15 points is 2.5 touchdowns. That ends up being a fairly big gap. I mean, if it's 15 points, that's almost a point per game. That can be a big factor. And now, of course, in a singular week, it can only max 3 points. It's not like, somebody went for 200 yards, they're getting 6 points, but those 3 points can be a big difference maker, come playoff time. And having, taking those picks, a wide receiver or a running back versus a tight end in the same area, and that wide receiver or running back just has far more 100-yard equity, or they're probably just ending up with more raw points. We already know that they're going to have more raw points, but even the gap is even going to be wider here, because that's how you get to a 30-point game, a 35-point game, a 40-point game for a skill position guy. And tight ends just so rarely have that upside in general, and especially on DraftKings. They're going to catch the ball less and, of course, have almost no 100-yard equity. So we'll get into some drafts and just talk it over as we go through like the board and the ADP. So we'll get into it. Today, definitely going to do one millionaire, and then maybe one other contest, maybe a play action, maybe a chain mover. I have some of these other ones, the button hook, $15. We can see what people want to do for the second one. Always have these tutties available, which are a really fun contest. I think there's only one out right now. Yeah. So let's get into the bigger tournament first, the $25 Millionaire Maker. I will count it down. and we will get to it. So entering in 10 seconds, and in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, enter. So looks like I got a fresh room. So if anyone got in the last one and I'm not in, sorry about that. Hopefully this fills pretty quickly. It seems like it's been doing better lately, though they don't have any promo going on right now, which generally does help. At least I haven't gotten a promo. Others might have. But while we wait, let me hit up chat again. Huckleberry, I'm hiding in my office again. Somebody used some crowns lately. Yes, I did. Good to see Jamie, of course. Appreciate everyone for jumping in. And let's refresh this again, see where we're at. Hopefully it is just 5 of 12. So still room here. If anyone wants to jump in, for this draft. And just from a program standpoint, Meg and I will both be on PPR Tyler's channel tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern, so it should be 6 p.m. his time, to do Superflex drafts. So that'll be fun. Looking forward to that tonight. Of course, tomorrow I'll be on during the daytime, probably about 2 p.m. again, doing Underdog, probably the marathon since it's out. And then tomorrow night, of course, is Baseball Jeopardy. Who Hames versus Nice and Blunt. That should be a great one. And, Thursday, the sibling showdown, where my hair gets grayer every week. I think that's what we should measure it on, how crazy the draft is. And we are still waiting. 6 of 12. Did not, unfortunate timing to get the fresh room. Steve, would you rather play one DK 555 or one $500 big dog? I am going to say the DK 555 for a couple reasons. I won't bring it up on screen just so I don't miss this, but the big dog, 212, 1 of 6, 1 of 6, 10-seat final. I mean, that 10-seat final is obviously incredible. 200K prize, top prize 10K for 10th place. But it is 212, 1 of 6, 1 of 6. Here, let me just bring up DraftKings on another window. And I did 1.555 last year. Did not go well. Like, it actually started really well. I had a very strong team. I think I had Kraft and Scatamu on it. So like halfway through the year, I looked like I was cooking. And it just went totally off the rails at the end. But so this is 212, then 2 of 8, 1 of 8, 52 person final. So, I personally like getting to the third round. And the other thing, if you get to the third round, you get 2K. That's your min. And so I think that's pretty solid. We're on Underdog, the big dog, 2K. I don't know if that's the same. That might be around the same. No, you'd get 1,500 for being in the semifinals. So a little better there. And the biggest thing is, excuse me, almost assuredly, there's going to be some sort of promo for this. Like they do it every year. I think that's why I entered last year, because I could enter one and I got I think I got 3 Millionaire tickets or something like that. So, it made it a lot easier, maybe even 4. I can't remember. There was some sort of deal they did. And so for me, it's going to end up, even though on paper it's $55 more, I think the payout structure is a little better. The total structure is a little better. And likely you can get some more value to it. And then finally, if you do get to the finals in this, it is top prize $1 million. So you know, for the extra $55, your investment is just so much better. And top 52 teams get 10K. So that's the same 10K as the 10, like every team who makes the finals in both of these gets minimum 10K, and the prizes are just so much higher. There's 7 different people who get 6 figures or more in the 555. So that's kind of how I would break it down. Like if I'm going to make that investment, I'd rather it, I think your odds of getting there are just slightly better. And I think your payoff is greater. And with the deals they run, I think you can get it just at a better rate. So this finally filled. We got Huckleberry in here. We got Buddy Man in here. I am the key. That is somebody, right? I'm trying to remember. Believe so. Please let me know. And we will, let me catch up with chat before this draft starts. Brett, dang DK, wish I could draft there. Sorry about that, Brett. Don't worry, we'll be doing plenty of underdog. Low, ready for some DK, absolutely. I don't make your hair gray. I don't know if we want to take a chat poll on that or not. We got Sweetleaf. Good to see Sweetleaf on a self-imposed DK Milly break. You're 90 in. Wow. Huckleberry saying sold. I'm at 6. Nice. You are D-Ball 03. Nice. Good to see you, Devin. And KY is everywhere. Yeah. Kowski, good to see you. Howdy, Steve. Yeah, this draft is starting now. So yeah, I'm at the 10th spot. And we'll talk about, I do want to talk about that because I think the tight end is interesting. And I do think Bowers is the exception to the rule because he will get the targets like just about any receiver. I know McBride had a similar target range last year. I just don't know if that's as sticky. And for most tight ends, we're happy with 100, 115, 120 targets. Sounds incredible. But Bowers can legitimately get 150 plus targets. I know McBride, was in this ballpark last year. I think he's much more likely to be like 125 this year. I just think the Cardinals are going to throw the ball a lot less with an actual running game. They had no running backs at the end of the season. And, now they have 3 if Connor can stay healthy and if they really wanted to. So given their investment in Love, Algier, and even Connor being back, they're going to run the football a decent chunk, which there's just no way the Cardinals are throwing the ball 45 times a game. It was more like 42 times. But so without that, I see it very unlikely that McBride is stacking 140, 150 plus targets. So I think he takes a hit. And without that level of targets, I also don't think he's got much 100-yard game equity. Just in an offense like this, questionable quarterback, maybe he gets one. He is a very talented guy. There's no question on that. But I think Loveland has as much 100-yard equity as he does. I think even Tyler Warren does, even though he's not as dynamic as a pass catcher. And definitely a guy like Tucker Kraft. All right, I will just go CeeDee Lamb here. Not too difficult of a decision right there. I think I like Lamb and Jefferson at the end of the first round, and knowing that almost assuredly with this early second round pick, I'm taking a running back so I can start more balanced. And I think it's a fine way to start from the back half of the board. Good to see you, Sup Hartman. Good to see you. There you go. I knew you were in here. Good to see you. I knew you joined so good to see you. I'm KY. You are everywhere. I think you are in just about every draft that I see. But I love it. That's what we like to see. All right, Barkley, Hampton, AJ Brown for a 2 wide receiver start. I think I will go AJ Brown. I don't think I have this combo, the Lamb AJ Brown. And, again, we are talking full point PPR here, while running backs still carry a lot of weight on the DraftKings format. I just think having 2 receivers who can stack those 100-yard games, who are going to stack, 140 plus targets, feels really good to start. Appreciate that, Mike. Good showing on the Flannelverse yesterday. Yes, I was on with Neil yesterday, did 3 BBMs with Neil. Had a lot of fun with that. And really, really enjoyed that. Always enjoyed drafting with Neil. We got JT, missed the intro with DK Torman. This is the Millionaire Maker. For this one, I am going to do a second draft. That I will probably do like the $3 or the $7 or something else. I'm to Sweet Leaf's point. I'm not trying. I'd like to spread out. I do plan on maxing this, but I'd like to spread out my volume on this. And with some of their promos, I am, I haven't counted up where I'm at, but I'm fairly deep into it, like probably like 60 in already. All right, let me go back to the board. So like I said, Bowers is the one tight end who I have no problem taking in this range, but I think McBride should fall. I even think, Loveland, Kraft, Warren, all these guys should fall a little bit on DK. They just are not going to have the same level. Like, McBride, I'm sorry, like already you're conceding points to, Derrick Henry and whoever's taken here. Not that this guy could have chosen Derrick Henry, but already you're conceding points to every one of these guys. They're just going to get more yards, more touchdowns, more catches, and now they also, they're going to have multiple 100-yard games, like Zay Flowers. 2 years ago, I think he had 500 or 600-yard games. That's 15 to 18 points. Last year, I think it was just 2. Again, Lamar, maybe it was 3. Lamar got injured, and that was clearly a factor. But if McBride gets more than 1, I think that's a win. And if he doesn't get, if he gets 1 or 0, that's a real tough call for him being a top 24 pick in this format. Because here's the other thing, like other tight ends, because in terms of like total catches, you can get guys who are going to get 100, 120 targets still in the mid rounds. So if McBride's only getting 10, 15 more targets, yes, they're a little better, or he's a little better with them. But in terms of raw catches and point production, the ability for a Travis Kelce, a Dallas Goedert, potentially Isaiah Likely stepping up, Hunter Henry, some of these other guys, it's not going to, there's no guarantee it's as far off as people think it is. Last year was, but I think last year was the exception, not the rule. And also just these tight ends in the other area, the Lovelands, the Warrens, the Crafts, Laportas, they have the ability to outscore McBride as well. Like, I just don't think it's as clear cut. I do think Bowers has a clear edge for tight end 1, but beyond that, McBride might have the best percentage. If you're breaking it down by percentage, you might have the best percentage for next after Bowers, but I think those other guys are very close to him, and you're paying just a much different price. And I think it's exasperated even more on DK. Let's get here. 2 picks away. I'll take Travis Etienne. Do like getting one running back here. Would have taken Josh Allen had he not gone one pick before me. I talked about this a little in Neil show, and this was more underdog, but the same premise here. The gap between Allen and Lamar, I think, has a lot of people underweight on Allen. I understand that there is a fair gap, but he is the guy. He has been the most consistent, high-scoring quarterback for the last 5 years. I don't want to be out on that. And he has an upside of 40, 50, 45 points that just basically nobody else has. So here, not loving Javonte. I'm going to go Burden. So 0-1-3-0. Almost got Higgins back to me. That's what I was hoping for, but did not. We got Al Boogie in here. Good to see Al. Sweetleaf. I don't know, Devin. Are you maxing this contest? That's a good question. Keep you softer than DK. Schultz will get 100 catches, 10 runs later. Yeah, like not 100, but he'll get 100 targets, and that's what I mean. If McBride only gets like 125 this year, which I think is live, I think that's really, in the realm of outcomes for Trey McBride. And I think people are just assuming he's going to get 150 targets again. I question that. And I think people are assuming he's going to get like double-digit touchdowns again. Again, I question that. One, the running backs are going to have a say in scoring touchdowns. Big part of the reason why he didn't get more touchdowns, people talk about the Kyler fact. A lot of it was the James Conner fact. James Conner was their red zone weapon. And now you have year 3 Marvin Harrison. You have an emerging Michael Wilson. You have multiple running backs. Touchdowns can be much more spread out this year for Arizona, and they're probably not getting a bunch to begin with. So I think, people should just have that in mind. And that's why I say Arizona is the most mispriced team. And this is on every format. McBride and Love go in the top 30. That 2 guys on maybe one of the bottom 3 offenses in the league, even if it's just a bottom 10 offense, should we really be taking 2 guys this high? And it's my same argument for Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. Like, they essentially have to get every piece of this offense to pay off. And Arizona is even worse because the other options are actually good. Michael Wilson and Marv are at least decent. Like, at least with the Jets, you could say, okay, like, it's Sadiq and Mason, Mason Taylor and, Omar, it's rookies and, former second round picks who haven't emerged yet, like Taylor and Mitchell. But there, I think it's even worse for, McBride and Love. Like, probably one of those pay off. I doubt both will. I think tight end, we artificially, inflate their prices. And I feel like, because we just know from a raw points, they're not generally as valuable. McBride was an exception last year. Like, he would have been worth a 3rd round pick last year, for sure. But if those numbers go down and he's more like his career norms, then it's no longer valuable. Goddard is a tight end that could have better numbers this year without AJ Brown. Yeah, that's why I mentioned guys like Goddard, Isaiah Likely. I just think they could really step up. Chigakonkwo, has nowhere come close to 100 targets before, but he really could this year. There's just not other options in the Washington offense. And end of the day, like, even though we are talking DraftKings here, if another tight end stacks 10 plus touchdowns, like say Mark Andrews, who's done that in the past, or Jake Ferg was well on that pace last year. Hunter Henry is another one. He's got a big red zone role. that can be more than enough. If not to say like he's outscoring McBride, but let's say McBride is in between what he was the last 2 years. And he has I know he had 1,100 yards 2 years ago, but let's say he has 1,000 yards and 5 touchdowns. That's great. But, Hunter Henry at 810 is putting up similar production, and you're getting him way later. And one of those is attached to one of the best offenses in the league. The other is attached to one of the worst offenses. My argument would be very different if McBride was on a top offense. I am going to go Henderson. We got first down fantasy in here. I think the more crazy question to ask is, when does Allen fall off? It's so crazy. It's like he's immortal at this point. I mean, yeah, knock on wood, dude stayed healthy where everyone else, I do think running quarterbacks get a more injury risk. I mean, Joe Burrow is one of the least running quarterbacks in the league, and yet one of the most injured quarterbacks in the league. Brock Purdy, the same. Yet when they're on the field, they're incredible. And when they're in the field, they win people a lot of money, as they have the last couple of years. I'm going to go Brian Thomas here. But, Josh Allen is... You say immortal, but he is inevitable. That's for sure. Like, this guy just dominates at a level we just don't see. And why I don't love the big gap between him and Lamar. He is getting his best. This can be his best weapons that he's had in years. So that feels good as well. No, I think that's smart, Sweet Leaf. There was a lot of good promos to start. I'm sure you jumped on all those. And like you said, taking a little break now in June, but still mixing in like some of the smaller dollar stuff. I think that's a good way to approach it. Yeah. Aching is nice. He went here at 20. And, as much as I like Bowers and I like London, I do think Aching should go. I could have made the consideration for him where he goes, but I'm going to mix it up and take AJ Brown there with Lamb. But he is a great option. I do think there are some concerns. No Mike McDaniel, a running quarterback who, will probably just scramble sometimes instead of dumping off. But I still think he's such a good pass catching back. I will say I love what this guy, it was Buddy Man. There you go. McCaffrey, Aching, and Love. That can be a lot of targets to the running back. And because that is the other point of the McBride as well, is Jeremiah Love can be a weapon in the passing game. So I expect him to get, a chunk of that work and to the point of what Connor did 2 years ago. So yeah, I like Buddy Man start here. 3 running backs, then McLaurin, Watson, stacked up with Jaden. That feels like a good start. Huckleberry has a fun start also. Chase Henry, so you got that correlation. Rice, Waddle, Evans, Drake May. Just taking the raw upside points of Drake May. Stevenson, that's a fun second piece, and just getting another piece of that Patriots offense feels good. It's always the interesting thing with DK is we have Will Saint apparently hitting the plane. So that can be unfortunate. All right, so some interesting moves here. We will take Dak Prescott to go with CD Lamb. And let's see what comes back to me in a couple of picks. I don't think they had anyone left at running back plus Harrison. Yeah, no, exactly. Like, it was just the perfect, storm of events happening. Even when people talk about the Kyler versus Jacoby, the biggest thing that people don't highlight is the fact that Kyler would run more. Another reason, touchdowns. Kyler probably ran 3 times as much as Jacoby Brissett. Brissett would run like 20 yards a game, 30 yards a game. But Kyler was just running more as well. So no Kyler running, no running back running, their defense being horrible. And also, actually Jacoby Brissett had a lot of turnovers, so they would get in these big holes. People would love that he's putting up 350 passing yards, but a lot of that was because he'd played so poorly early that they're now down 3 scores and all they're doing is throwing. Where if it had been Kyler, like, they're probably more on pace, probably more back and forth. And so I get it. Like, it panned out for McBride and Michael Wilson especially, but all these other factors and the Marv injury, actually injuries, it was concussion and something else, just made it easy for McBride and Michael Wilson to really put up the seasons that they did. I think they're still really good players. It's just the offense is probably going to throw the ball considerably less. What Cardinal do you think you had the most exposure to? Either Marv or Love. I'm more, and DK might be slightly different, maybe because Michael Wilson sometimes goes really late and I take him a little bit more there. But I'm okay with Marv's price. Like, I think Marv's price is fine, like mid 60-ish range. Sometimes you get him to 70, great. Michael Wilson, at first, I think he opened pretty high, and then he slid some, and now he's sliding to a range I think is fine. But Love can still pay off, like, particularly when it's 3rd round ADP. 2nd round, I feel a little bit more uneasy about, but 3rd round, I'm okay with, him being RB, drafted as, let's see where he was drafted here. So what, 6 in the 1st round, another 6 in the 2nd round. So he's RB 13. I mean, yeah, I'd put Kyron ahead of him. I think you can make the case of Travis Etienne ahead of him. But if he's going somewhere between like 11 and 14, I think he can relatively pay off that range. So I'm okay with it. Do I prefer Kyron because the offense is so much better? Sure. But I think Love is fine. And, what I was saying is Marv, here's 71. Underdog is more like, 65 to 70, I'd say, is his general range. And, like the other receivers he's competing against are other guys with question marks. So I'm on the clock. Let me make this pick. I will go Nangai. Get a 3rd back. So I got my 2 quarterbacks with Dak and Lawrence up, tack on a 3rd as well. I like where I'm at there. Looking towards, this is where I start looking towards tight end. Kelsey and Goddard are two of my favorites. Kincaid's a little tougher, just his injury history. If I had Josh Allen, would be very interested, but could go receiver here. Wandale, Worthy, Myers, I think are all strong. Running back, Dobbins, White, either would make sense. I think I would go. I think I'll go Rashard White. He's a guy who I actually think, look, the minicamp stuff was very positive for him. If he opens training camp for particular contests like this, where it's not time box, if he opens up training camp and is like the clearer RB1, and that's what we're seeing in preseason, like his ADP will skyrocket. Like he'll be, creeping in the 70s and 80s. So I think there's some more value to take him in this kind of contest where, let's say, if I do the tutty, the $7, Rashard White, everyone in that tutty is taking Rashard White at the same ADP. So there's no worry there at all. But I think in this and BBM, White is somebody who I think makes more sense to be taken now, because I think more likely than not his ADP is going to rise. I doubt it falls outside of like him getting banged up, which he did a year ago with the ankle sprain. We got WF for Omega in here. Good to see you. He was on with Who Hames last night. So good to see him there. And Sweet Leaf, I used 12 tickets, 4-5 I won on 10 to, oh, nice. Very nice. Yeah, he is auto drafting at this point. Obviously, at any point he could come back, if he realizes it. But yeah, that green circle means auto drafting. So if he has his own ranks in, then it would go by those. But otherwise, yeah, we cannot expect any falls. So definitely good for you to know with him on one side of you. And same for I'm the key. So yeah, that's always tough. Though, let's see. So Goddard and Andrews go. Maybe he does have his own ranks in, because I think isn't Goddard, or maybe, Kelsey I thought was above Shuck, but we'll see. I will take Kelsey pretty easily. All right, that's yeah. Speaking of tight ends, I think Kelsey is just tremendous value on every site. 100 plus targets, every single year. It's just. I know some people look at it that the numbers keep going down. I think context matters quite a bit. One year he missed a couple games. Last year, Mahomes missed a lot of games. This guy, since these last 3 years, when so in 2022, that's when he had the 1,300 yards, 12 touchdowns, 152 targets, 110 catches. Since then, I'll make this pick and then I'll make my point. His numbers are comparable to just about any other tight end not named Brock Bowers and to an extent McBride. But I just don't think I don't think it's really the same. No, I'll get to the point in a second. So do I take the third quarterback here is the question. think I'll see if I can push. Let's take Jalen Naylor. So in these last 3 years, 2023 in 15 games, 121 targets, 93 catches, 984 yards, 5 touchdowns. 2024, 16 games, 133 targets, 97 catches, 823 yards, 3 touchdowns. And then this past year, 108 targets, 76 catches, 851 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Are these numbers well below what he did from 2020 to 2022? Absolutely. But they are still very, very good relative to the tight end position. And, you know, I think those touchdowns can easily go back up. I don't think he's just only going to get 4 or 5 touchdowns. That's what he's locked into. I don't think it should shock anyone if he's getting this many targets, if he gets 8 touchdowns, 9 touchdowns, 10 touchdowns. I mean, this has to be still in the realm of possibility. This guy did not totally change. Like this is a reason why at the point that Mahomes got injured, he was tight end 2 and tight end 6 in points per game at that time. It ended up being tight end 3 and tight end 9 in points per game because of the Mahomes injury. But the idea that he is just totally dead, I think is just so off base. Gotcha. It's off ADP. That's why I scoop quarterback. So it's smart. Are you shocked we haven't heard any free agent signing news? Yeah. No, I am. We haven't heard any on the Diggs or Debo front. And a couple others fall into that. Maybe it's more like just like the week before camp. That's when this news breaks. I guess that's what we're waiting on at this point. But it is shocking. You'd think they'd want to get it in. That was positional limit, not ranks. Okay. I did a draft yesterday. Got the last pick. Snagged James Cook and Saquon. Oh, good to see you, Trevor. Yeah. I mean, Cook and Saquon is a nice combo. 2 guys who can just stack up yards and touchdowns. And I think people are just assuming that because Saquon had a bad year, or a down year, I shouldn't even say bad year, it'll be more the same. I think he's still the focal point of this offense, even more so now with AJ Brown gone. And, if the O-line's better, which it should be, if their offensive coordinator is better, which it's almost impossible for him not to be, I think there's every reason to think that Saquon could have another big year. Is it running back 1 again? No, maybe not. But could we look back at it and say he should have been like the 3rd running back taken? 100%. So here, 2, 4, 5, 1. I am going to go Daniel Jones. Just to mix it up. I obviously have plenty of Rodgers. Deion Jones, just not an easy guy to backstack, but I'm not too worried about that. All right, Hunter goes. Would have taken him. Could go another tight end. I think Hunter Henry is a pretty good pick here. Algier or Kamara would make sense. And so Flournoy goes. You know what? I'm going to double up on the Raiders receivers. I think at the prices that you're getting them, it's fine. I think most weeks, one of them can be pretty fantasy relevant. I'm sure there'll be some weeks where they both are. So I think that's okay. Nice, Trevor. Yeah, no, I mean, look, I mean, these big time tournaments are are grind and tough, but they can be some fun sweats in the playoffs. I've never done, actually not never. The year that I was like $5, I got one team to the finals, was dead on arrival. Since then, the last couple of years, I have not gotten one of these millionaire makers to the finals, but had plenty of semifinal sweats, just none have gotten home. I've gotten other DK teams to the finals, so hopefully I can get one, because that is a fun sweat and payout if you can get a team to the finals. All right, Huckleberry's on the clock here. He's 2.551. Takes Hawkinson. It's a good pick. Mike here, Buddy Man, is 2.462. So I'm definitely behind at only one tight end. I do need to catch up there, but I got my 3 quarterbacks. I'm done there. Yeah, this auto team is turning into a very interesting team with 3 quarterbacks already, 4 running backs, 4 wide receivers, and 3 tight ends. So we'll see how that plan lands. Yeah, you got McBride and Loveland and Cowpit. So yeah, huge tight end investment. And that's one of the risks of going auto. Even if your rankings are dead on, structurally, you could just end up killing yourself. Okay, into the 15th round here. Huckleberry goes Debo, Buddy Man Mitchell. Those are 2 receivers I like. Probably looking tight end here. Might be doubling up a tight end because it does dry up. If I didn't have a quarterback, I would be considering Mendoza with the double Raiders. Yeah, I like Dylan Sampson. If I have a shot at one of these tight ends, I'm pretty locked into taking them. So Schultz or Dulcich, my first guy, and then maybe I double up. But to the point earlier, like Schultz, he's gotten a lot of seasons with 100 targets, so I think that's well in his wheelhouse. Dulcich, there's nobody else in Miami right now. But you just worry that they could pick up somebody, or something like they don't have a lot invested in them either. So I will lean Schultz here. If Dulcich comes back, absolutely will consider him. Running back wise, Braylon Allen, Trey Harris. I definitely like that pick. Don't love this range of receivers. Jerry Jeudy. It's not good when Jerry Jeudy is my second favorite name here. Branch, I think people are just assuming he's got a big role. I don't know. Guy couldn't carve out a big role in college. Hard to think that he's going 3rd round and doing that year 1. I think this is the type of guy we miss on quite a bit. A couple years ago was Luke McCaffrey. Third round pick. Everyone thought, the Washington depth chart's pretty thin. He's going to rise to the top. Just no, it doesn't work that way. We will go tight end here. Dulcich went, so we'll go Gunnar Helm. Finalize that. So yeah, the Branch thing, the fact that he goes a couple rounds ahead of other wide receivers who I think are better than him, and some who went higher than him, is a little wild to me. I do think Dotson and Zacchaeus, at the very least, are entering camp ahead of him. Yeah, I think the concern for Branch is even more on underdog because just probably not having much of a touchdown role. But even on DK, I think he's a mix-in fourth receiver. Do you max out entries in the contest? I will in the Millionaire. I'm not going to max every contest on DK, but I will in the Millionaire, mainly because of the promos that they do. This is interesting. The guy in the 2-hole no longer has the the auto draft on, so he's back in the game. Let's see how he saves it. Takes Wicks. So I'm done at quarterback, done at tight end. Running back, I think I just want to add 2. Might add 3. I think my receivers, my first 4 feel really good, and then 2 Raiders. Could I be done at that? Maybe. My running backs will be a little weaker. Like, could it be done with just 1 more receiver? I'm definitely taking the 7th, but do I need the 8th is, I guess, what I was saying. All right, coming up. You get, I can't remember off the top of my head, but you get a certain number of DK dollars back to max it. And you know, on top of that, like, your first entry is free. They've had other promos going on. Like 2 weeks ago, there was one, if you did 15 during the course of a week, which is a lot, you got 75 DK dollars. So, you know, to me, that's like 3 entries. And that's actually the second time they've done that. So they've been doing some different promos. Not all of them do I partake in or do, but I think they make it, you know, and I doubt anyone can get all of these promos, but you're going to generally just end up paying, even though it's now $25, exact same as BBM, between the money back, the promos, which Underdog does some promos, it's just not near as many. So you're not going to be the cost is not going to be end up being near as much to max both these contests. All right, coming up, still an area of receiver that I hate. So some of my favorite running backs went off the board, so we will take Marshawn Lloyd. You know, have my concerns with him. But 17th round here, when guys like Emma Johnson, K-Tron are already gone, I'm okay taking a shot. Receiver, yeah, not taking Brandon Ayuk. Tank Dell, not really taking that. Tyreek, same. Might take another running back here. All right. We are 2 picks away. I think one of these rookies makes the most sense. So Tyreek goes. I'm just, even in 20 rounds, I just don't really see the upside for Tyreek. We've not gotten any sort of update. I just don't like these other receivers. Well, I think it thins out. I'll absolutely be taking these guys above Tyreek. So we'll do a singleton share. Keyshawn Boutte, Cam Coleman. Chris Bell's dealing with an injury, but he's far more likely to be playing games than Tyreek. Troy Franklin, Mooney, Surratt, Thornton, Pat Bryant. I think all these guys are, just are much more likely going to be on the football field. Somebody took Ayuk as well. That definitely feels, like a very thin play right now. I just don't know who's going to sign him. And if they sign him, will he actually play football? I think that's a very fair question we need to be asking ourselves. So yeah, I thought it was Degen. Got Katron Allen and Mooney. Those are two picks I was liking. I was hoping Katron was coming back to me. Not today, sir. Nope. Yeah, I knew that was a risk. I was hoping one of Emmett Johnson or Katron came back to me, and Huckleberry got Emmett, and you got Katron. I honestly, particularly on 20th round, I didn't mention this. I like taking some stabs at these Dolphins receivers in 20 round format. Somebody's going to catch the football. Even if Dulcich is the right call, there will be receivers that produce fantasy usable weeks. And whether it's some of these rookies, whether it's Malik Washington, I still think he probably goes a little too high in this. Tolbert, Tutu, whoever the case may be, I think mixing them in with the 20 rounds feels a little better. I don't love Malik Washington's price, though. I think there's just too much of an assumption that he is, he goes 148 here. Like, this guy, if he's playing, he could be the third or the fourth option. And there's no other guy we're taking in that range who's that risky. Like Omar Cooper, maybe he's the third option. Denzel Boston, maybe he's the third option. Tesla, we know he's the third option, etc. I guess you could say Hunter, but Hunter is it's a whole different situation. Coleman. Sometimes I like scrolling down. Like I said, Tutu's intriguing. Slayton is another one who I think is intriguing as I scroll down, but I'm going to take Tyquan Thornton here. That's the Kansas City wide receiver room. We have Rice, we have Worthy, and then it's probably Tyquan Thornton. And in the game Best Ball, spike week ability, he's got that upside. He hits your lineup once and you're fine. Twice you're golden. So I think mixing him in 19th round feels good. And I'll go Ken Coleman as well. So I will look over my team, and then from Fanspeak members, we have Huckleberry and I think Buddy Man here, and KY and D-Ball. Devin, I don't believe are Fanspeak members, but I appreciate them for jumping in and drafting. Like I said, I'll be doing another draft right after this. Huckleberry saying, KY killing me, I need Jordan James. I'm taking a shot on Eli Reardon. Austin Hooper gone. Hooper only had 6% targets, but 9% were end zone targets. Yeah. I do. Yeah, I don't think Reardon is a terrible click, because I think he probably is tight end 2 on one of the best offenses in the league. What I will say is I do think some of their tight end zone targets, of course, now become AJ Brown end zone targets. So my guess is those come more from the Hooper, Reardon Hooper side than, Hunter Henry overall. But yeah, I get it. Mixing that in, it is 20th round format. You get a third tight end. So I get it. All right, I'll go over my team real quick. Quarterback wise, Dak, Trevor Lawrence, Daniel Jones, 3 starting quarterbacks, 3 different buys. Dak and Lawrence, I think 2 guys with real top 10 upside. Running back wise, Travis Etienne, Travion Henderson, Kyle Monangai, Rashard White, and then tacking on Marshawn Lloyd, Nicholas Singleton. I don't love this running back room. Run the risk of Travis Etienne being the only clear starter, and Hendo, White, Monangai being like the 1Bs on their team, even if they're that high, and then to just late throws at Singleton and Lloyd as well. So run some risk there, but I think there's enough potential for the group for Hendo, White, and Monangai to have pretty good roles. So I don't think I'm going to dominate running back scoring. I don't think my flex will become from the running back a ton, but I think it is capable. Receiver-wise, CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, Luther Burden, Brian Thomas Jr. I think that's a very, very strong top 4 with Naylor and Trey Tucker. Like I said, basically, I think just about every week, I think one of those guys will be fantasy relevant. And for a lot of times I'll be as my wide receiver 3 or flex. So I think that's pretty good there. And then just tacking on to like younger dart throw guys and Thornton and Ken Coleman, probably both third receivers on their respective offenses, but they're very good offenses. Hopefully they can hit the lineup a couple times and pay off. Tight end wise, took Travis Kelce, got a nice little fall on that. Added on Dalton Schultz, like I talked about earlier, another 100 target guy. Gunnar Helm, I think, is intriguing. Chig is gone. Gunnar Helm could be a low key 100 target guy. The Titans offense, Brian Dable, improvement there. I think there's at least some hope that they're semi-functional, and Cam Ward is functional and good, improving. So, it's Carnell Tate's offense, but I think, I could, and Wandale will have his target share, but I could see Helm having 80 plus targets pretty easily. He had 55 last year as a rookie. Chig had about 50. Chig had, where is it? Chig had 79. So yeah, combined, they ate into each other. So yeah, I think Helm could easily crack the 100 target mark. He's not going to combine all of his and Chig's targets, but do I think he gets around 100? Yeah, so pretty cheap area for 100 plus targets. So that's my team. I feel okay about it. Not my favorite, but I think it's fine. Huckleberry here, 2774. So yeah, he talked about Reardon at the end, so that makes sense. Drake May, Derrick Henry, Ramondre Stevenson. Like I always do by position. So Drake May, Brock Purdy, and that's the only two quarterbacks. As long as they stay healthy, that's going to be a very strong quarterback room. Running back, Derrick Henry, Ramondre Stevenson, Kenny Gainwell, Chris Rodriguez, Woody Marks, Ray Davis, and Emma Johnson. So yeah, I mean, went 7. I don't even think you necessarily had to go 7. I think getting guys like Gainwell is your 3. Chris Rodriguez, Woody Marks is your 4-5. Very strong, and then Ray Davis and Emma Johnson. So I think it's a deep running back room. Like Henry's the anchor. Stevenson, you feel pretty good about, but even if it's like Stevenson, Gainwell, Chris Rod, Woody Marks, just kind of rotating in that RB2 spot, I think you're going to be very strong there. Wide receiver wise, Chase, Rice, Waddle, Mike Evans, of course, Evans with Purdy, Romeo Doubs with Drake May, Deebo Samuel. We'll see where he lands, but there should be plenty of value there, and then Boutte as well. Obviously very top heavy with those top 4 receivers. I think Doubs as a 5 is good. Deebo as a 6 I think is fantastic, but that's speculative right now. But plenty of opportunities where it turns into a fantastic pick. So I like how the receiver room came together. And then tight end wise, you said you went 4, Mark Andrews to start, TJ Hawkinson, that's good, 1-2. Then Reardon and Michael Mayer. So taking some number 2 tight ends to see if you can cobble together enough points. Honestly, I think you're fine. I mean, Andrews and Hawkinson, some health concerns there, but beyond that, Hawkinson, 2 years removed from surgery, 1 year removed from terrible quarterback play. Mark Andrews should see a step back up with no Isaiah Likely and no Charlie Kolar. In addition, Declan Doyle coming in. One thing we've seen about this Ben Johnson offense, if Doyle runs a similar type style, is tight end gets pretty featured. Saw that with Laporta. We saw that with Loveland. I think Mark Andrews is going to just be a red zone menace, as he has been for his career. I mean, last year's like the exception. So I think that's a very, very good combo there. And then for Buddy Man, he goes 3-5-10-2. That's an interesting build. Jane Daniels, Jordan Love, and Shador Sanders. That's right. I did see him take Shador. So, I think tacking on Shador, is good here. And also like the 23 round format with more teams having 3 quarterbacks, like I think Shador should be taken in every draft, of course, and is a reasonable click. I mean, particularly with, Daniels and Love have both had their injury concerns. And you stacked up all 3 running back wise. We talked about this as it started. McCaffrey, A-Chain, Love. That is a lot of running back points, potentially. And Rico Dowdle also thrown into the mix. That's why you went 5. And Vidal as your final. So yeah, kind of like a hyper fragile build. But I think it's strong. I mean, the dual threat points from McCaffrey, A-Chain, and even Love feels really good. Rico, I think he's one of the best running back values there are. They all have different buys. That's the way you approach it. You'll always have 3 live, and can mix into the flex. Receiver wise, McLaurin, Watson, Pearsall, Coker, Cooper Jr., Boston, Mitchell, Trey Harris, Jalen Noel, Torrey Horton. So I see why you went 10. A lot of young upside guys, second or third year guys, in particular outside of essentially McLaurin and Watson. And, you know, I think some people look at this as a weaker wide receiver room. I think it's fine. You know, if the running back's hitting the flex a lot, which it should, I think you're going to be generally fine with your top three receivers and Coker mixing in Cooper, Boston, Mitchell, even Trey Harris. They all have ability to hit a couple times and be enough for you. Tight end wise, I like what you did here with Kraft and Chig. Of course, both stacked up, and you know, Kraft is that's what I talked about before. Like, he goes so much later than Trey McBride. His ability to be tight end 1 or tight end 2, I think, is pretty close to McBride's. And then Chig is just another guy with a much clearer path this year. Could he get 100 targets? 100%. All right, let me hit up chat, then we'll get into the next draft. The thing about that team is Travion Henderson is probably going to take the lead back spot. And that's the way I have it in, you know, I took Henderson in mine. I think, and this is the difference a little bit between Underdog and DraftKings. I like Henderson more on DraftKings from the pass catching standpoint. I think Ramondre isn't going anywhere. Do I think Henderson could end up scoring more fantasy points than him? Yeah, but I think Ramondre is actually going to be a more consistent scorer. I know it wasn't necessarily that way last year, though in part that was early on. They're mixing in 3 backs with Antonio Gibson. And it, you know, just took them a little while to get their running game going. I think that improves this year. The offensive line is going to be improved. Either way, I think we want pieces. I think we want both Patriots backs in best ball this year. I think both will have plenty of opportunity to hit value. All right, I'm gonna jump into another draft. I think I'm just going to do the $3. I haven't done one in a little while. I have a ticket. So I think I'm just going to jump into that. So if anyone wants to join, I'm going to do this play action here. It is starting to fill up to, like, you know, over 50% filled, like 60% filled. So I need to start doing more. We will jump in 10 seconds, and in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, enter. All right, waiting on 12. So if any more $3 shots, come on in. All right. Give me 1 second. Sorry, JT. Yeah, I did that last year. I maxed it so early, and I realized I probably shouldn't do that. It stays open much longer. So I got the 3 spot. We got Buddy Man in here. And I think that's all I see. Let me know if anyone else jumped in. And this draft is starting in 1 minute. I appreciate, all the sites, but I wish it would start a little quicker once it fills on DraftKings. I think 1 minute is all you need. Like we're entering fast drafts for a reason. All right. If you ever do double bears running back, his cost just too stiff. I think they're running ball like crazy this year. So I couldn't find it, but one of my slows that I have going on right now is double bears running back. I think I definitely wanted Swift, and then I was hoping I'd get another back and just kept not getting it. And so when Monanga came up, I think I got him like half a round past ADP. So I was like, screw it, At that point, I just didn't like anyone else. I think it is tough in general. I do agree. Like this offense could just be one of the best in the league. I love Ben Johnson. Love what he's done with his backs in the past. And, we've seen it, 2 years ago. Chase is the easy click for me here. 2 years ago, at the time week 15 started, David Montgomery got hurt early in that game, and Gibbs was like RB5, and Montgomery was RB like 11 or 12. At the end of the year, Gibbs I think was RB2 or 3, and Montgomery fell a few spots because he didn't play. I think he ended up being like 16. And the point being is, I don't think anything was going to change. Like Gibbs was a monster for the fantasy playoffs that year. No question about it. But had Monty stayed, Gibbs still probably would have outscored him, of course. But I don't think Gibbs would have had the monster playoff run that he did. And, Monty could have had, a couple really good games for himself as well. So, yeah, I think they can still pay off together, these Bears backs, because you're not even paying the crazy prices you would have that year for Gibbs and Monty. Because that year would have been like, end of first round Gibbs and, 6th, 7th round Monty. Well, you're paying a little less on both these guys. Like Swift is going like 6th round, and then, Monanga a couple rounds later. Good to see GAB. Good to see you. Good morning, afternoon, good evening, Steve-O and Best Ball fam. Absolutely. Always good to see GAB in chat. You can check out his YouTube channel as well. And GAB Sports on YouTube. All right, I'll be coming back here. And, I'm easily Chase as wide receiver 1. I talked about this with Neil yesterday. And I know some people think I have just an irrational Puka stand. But at the time that Devontae Adams got injured, because I do think these like sliding doors situations matter. Like we can look at the end result, but we want to know the why. We want to know what happened. And so in the Cardinals case, all the running backs getting injured is a big, big factor. In the Puka case, Devontae Adams getting injured is a big, big factor. He's not wide receiver 1 without it. Just full stop. Like, would not have happened. Would he have been wide receiver 4 or 5? Yeah, almost assuredly. But he's not wide receiver 1 without it. And we're treating him like his odds to be wide receiver 1 are on par with Jamar Chase. And simply put, they're not. He's historically not had a big touchdown role. He did in those like 4 games without Devontae Adams. I know that stuck into the playoffs when Adams came back, but Adams was not 100%. And the other aspect, of course, is Matt Stafford played out of his mind. Matt Stafford dominated the league in touchdowns with 46, and he also led the league in passing yards. The odds that he does even one of those things this year are fairly low. And if he loses, if he's 5th in passing yards and 6th in passing touchdowns, I think that's far more likely than 1st and 1st again. Puka takes a hit where Chase, of course, played a lot of the year without Joe Burrow. And while Flacco was for some of that, also Jake Browning was for a good chunk of that. And, I just don't think, and Higgins missed one game, but Higgins was out there for the rest of the year. So we know that Chase has the sticky ability to be wide receiver one, particularly if Burrow is healthy. And even without Burrow being healthy, he had a path for it last year. So that to me is why it's no contest between Chase and Puka, and honestly between Chase and anyone else. I will address Mike's comment in a second. You make this other pick. So 2 receivers start. I think I'm probably just going to go third here. I don't mind Kern, but don't necessarily need to pull him up. My Love goes, would have considered that, or She Rice. So yeah, I think I'm Devonta Smith here over George Pickens. Having 3 wide receiver ones feels very good, and I like I think Houston and Philly's offense take a step. As I just mentioned, Chase, just please God, keep Burrow and bubble wrap and healthy. And if so, Chase is, and Chase needs to stay healthy, but if so, should clearly pay off. As for Mike's question, do you worry that Meg's spending all the time with the Toxie Boys lately that she's looking for a way to sell you out? Oh, I know she's, if she gets an offer of site credit, she's selling me out. There's no question. And probably, it probably isn't even $500. It's maybe 100, she'd sell me out. Like, that's what I'm feeling. And we'll see if Meg's still watching the stream. All right, so I do a 3 receiver start. Like right now it's 0 RB, but if I get the right players, I will change that quickly. But I'm very happy with this kind of start. Chase, Colin, Nico, and Devonta Smith. I think potentially 3 top 10 receivers. Smith, I think, has a lot of upside. He was tracking really well up until about week 11, week 12 last year. He was, in fact, kind of ahead of A.J. Brown. And now no A.J. Brown. So Kyle Lemon is going to have his role, but it's not going to be the same as A.J. Brown's. And to the point of Goddard earlier, like I think Brown's, Kyle Lemon might get 70% of that. So then that's 30% just carved up everywhere else. And I think Smith probably gets the biggest chunk of that. All right, coming up here in the 4th round. So Grace Dog doing the exact opposite of what I'm doing. 3 running back start, tax on receiver. You can see if I can go 3 receiver start, tack on a running back. Hammer 08, double Cardinals. That's an even tougher one for me, because I think for some of these teams, especially weaker offenses, and there aren't many in the first couple of rounds, but Bijan in London, the Arizona boys, the Jets guys. Some of the bet that we're making is that we're just more right. Like if you're taking McBride, you're probably saying Jeremiah Love is not worth the 3rd round pick. If you're taking Breece Hall, you're probably saying, the way he gets there, it's probably Garrett Wilson not getting there. So to do both of them, I think that makes it's already a thinner, a more questionable bet in my opinion, and now it's even tougher. Like instead of turning it into a 2-leg parlay, like I think if you're taking Chase and Higgins or something like that, let's say even different positions like Barkley and Devonta Smith. Not that that's an easy one to get. They can both pay off. We know that there's a precedent here of that offense doing that. There is just not that precedent here. I think it's just a much longer odds bet. I took Burden last time. I think I'm going to go Terry. Or do I go to the running back? Actually, yeah, I'm going to pull up Swift. I'm probably only taking one running back here. And any of these receivers I'm fine with. Like, even definitely Millen falls back, but Terry, Moore, Evans, I'm fine with any of them. We got Hallian checking in. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. This is my second DK draft of the day. Did the Milllymaker first, now doing the $3 play action. So Burden comes back. Like Evans as well, but we'll go Luther Burden with a little fall there. And for those who missed it before, from a programming standpoint, Meg and I will both be on with Tyler, PPR Tyler tonight on his channel, doing some underdog, super flex drafts. And then, of course, tomorrow I'll be back during the day, probably doing the underdog marathon, Frenchie marathon. And then tomorrow night is the next episode of Best Ball Jeopardy, and it is Who-Heems versus Nice and Blunt. So that should be a really good one. I do expect, and I think Nice and Blunt knows this as well. Like, I think Who-Heems is going to bring his A game. So I know there have been some rounds where questions haven't been answered at the highest rate. I think that changes. I expect Who-Heems to be pretty sharp. So Nice and Blunt's going to have to not let him get control of the board. All right, coming up here. I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, I think Meg might be on Who-Heems' channel tomorrow. I need to double check that. So coming into the 7th round. Very strong at receiver, just one running back so far. Hallian asking, I'm wondering if the Commanders decide to just stick with the current wide receiver room, if they do end up with Diggs. Yeah, I think that is, Diggs is the guy who's rumored the most, and I think it makes sense. I know people thought the door was totally shut on Debo. I think there's still connections there. It seemed like him and Jaden had a good connection. Obviously Adam Peters, and I'm sure Blau worked with him some. Blau was the assistant quarterbacks coach. But all coaches there's some familiarity. So if Debo doesn't get a better offer, would not shock me if Debo comes back, as well. And while we don't fully know the David Blau, it sounds like it's going to be a combo of Cliff Kingsbury and, some Ben Johnson. Could Debo play some of that Amon-Ra role? Sure, absolutely. So could be interesting. Washington just makes too much sense. They need, to me, it's like criminal. You're going to invest in Jaden Daniels and then not get him weapons? Like, what are we doing here? All right, let go. Almost on the clock. Mike asking, are you an actual Jeopardy guy? I watch with my neighbor every day. For people who know a lot, they generally have terrible betting strategy. I yell at the TV like a lunatic sometimes. Yeah, I do like Jeopardy. I don't watch it as much as I used to, but I do really enjoy Jeopardy for sure. I think I'm gonna go Caleb here. I have Swift and Burden. I like May more, but making a big team bet here. Couldn't guarantee that Caleb would come back to me. If Stevenson comes back, I do need running back. Don't really love Warren or Hubbard at these prices. Receiver. I think if I'm taking another receiver, then I'm almost assuredly stopping at 7. Tight end Kraft is fine. I think I just go Stevenson here for the RB2. Still could end up with only 7 receivers. Trevor saying, I wish they would bring Underdog back to where I live. I doubt it happens since they got fined for operating without licenses. Oh, where are you at, Trevor? Yeah, I mean, ideally, I know there's still, more than a handful of states and provinces in Canada where it's not operating, and ideally they eventually get in all those markets, but I know it takes a lot for them. So I'm now sitting at 1240, and Mike Buddyman is on the clock. See where he goes. He goes Pierce, so he's 1231. Maine, yeah. I mean, I know it's obviously not a huge market or anything, but still, there's a lot of people in those states that you think they'd want to capture. So hopefully they can work something out. Huckleberry saying, I'm thinking maxing drafters and the DK Milly, but not BBM this year. Personally, that's where I'm at. I'm going to max those two, Huckleberry. And while both those sites have smaller contests I want to do, and I think some are really good as well, I just think the value that you get from maxing those is just much greater. The promos make it much more palatable. Of course, drafters is a cheaper price point as well, and less upside in drafters. But I think those make it a lot better. And for Underdog, I'm going to spend the most money on Underdog, but they have just so many different contests, different styles. I'd much rather be putting my money in the better advance rate contests there. All right. Keep seeing Stafford go so high here. It's kind of crazy to me. Going to end up with not a ton of Stafford. Like I know some people in Underdog want to fade Stafford as ADP because as I mentioned before, I don't think he's going to finish his quarterback one in touchdowns or yards. And there is the injury risk, but he can still be like definitely top 10 in those categories, and if not top 5, and could be a low end quarterback, top 10 quarterback. I don't think he's going to be quarterback 3 like he was a year ago, but if he's quarterback 8, where he goes on underdog, because I think he's like the 12th quarterback drafted on underdog, feels like a solid value. Here though, he's being drafted so high, I think you lose a lot of the value potential. I think I'm going to go Michael Pittman here. Downs was also some consideration. Yeah, Harvey, I didn't mind with the fall. Maybe I should have. But it would have been my third week 10 running back. And that just, doesn't feel great when I already feel thin at running back. And then 1 week I'm essentially conceding the entire point total. That feels not the best way to make up for being lower running back. All right, we are sitting, about to enter the 10th round at 135, and Mike Buddyman here at 1431. So I think at this point I am probably looking at just 7 receivers. Could go 7 running backs as well. And we'll just have to see what comes back to me. I like this team Grace Dogs put together. When running back heavy, caught up a little at receiver. I like the double tapping to Lawrence and Kyler here. It's another running back. Got tight end. I probably would, have like 9 receivers would be my guess. Just because it started a little late there. It feels like it's turning into a pretty nice team. Got another guy in here on auto. Always makes things interesting, and he's at 0.631. So yeah, it's going to be a very odd team build, and not feeling great about pushing value. Talked about this with Neil, like the rumor is more Mason than Aaron Jones. I do think maybe the math is a little different on DK. I just don't know Mason's going to have a passing role. A bit of a tier break here. I don't mind Chris Rodriguez, but this is the difference on DK and underdog. Rodriguez probably not having much of a passing role, so not feeling great about that. We'll see where I'm at. Don't mind the tight end here. Receiver, especially if I'm only going 7. Get my 6 locked up. I do have, 2 week 10 receiver buy, so I need to probably want to avoid that if I'm only going 7. I don't really have to worry about it with this grouping. Quarterback, I think I'm going to see if I can push. Got Whoheems checking in. Good to see you, Whoheems. Just talking about you're going to be on Best Ball Jeopardy this week. I think I will go Romeo Dubs here. Feel a little safer there for a 6 receiver. So yeah, Whoheems nice and blunt. Best Ball Jeopardy tomorrow night. That should be fun. And as I said earlier, I'm, no pressure, Whoheems, but I'm expecting you to do, put the pressure on nice and blunt. Don't think there's going to be a lot of dual missed questions. All right, so that guy's no longer an auto. He's at a 0.631 start. So pretty sure he's done at running back. I would hope so. We'll see if he can save that team. All right, we got Mike on the clock right now. Concepcion, yeah. I did consider Andrews, but I think I'll kind of load up at tight end in these next couple rounds. So fairly solid at wide receiver right now. No, I think it would be a good matchup between you and Nice and Blunt. So looking forward to that tomorrow. All right, Greystog, as I mentioned before, like the team they built. Shuck for a third quarterback, and Coker. Yeah, pretty solid right now. Okay. I think I'm definitely looking quarterback, tight end. Quarterback starting to dry up. So maybe one of each here, maybe 2 quarterbacks. Can be a little trickier on the DK side of things. Mike goes Jalen McMillan. He's really caught up at receiver. Yeah, I mean the double AJ Brown Higgins, but then he waited, took Pierce, and then I like Concepcion and McMillan here. So yeah, that's a fun team too. And we'll of course review that at the end. Let's see if I'm going to get a guy that I like. So Darnold goes. Okay, I get Stroud. It's got a little worried for a second. Woody Marks also would be in the mix here. Don't think I'm going to go quarterback. right. Let's see what these two teams do. Juwan Jennings, no threat there. I think he's a fine pick, but not looking receiver at all. So we will go Brenton Strange. Just to me, clearly still mispriced. I'm quite all right with him as my tight end one. Would have been on pace for a top 10 tight end season last year if he didn't get hurt. No reason to think that can't occur again. And let me go back to the board here. There goes Woody Marks. Definitely didn't think he'd make it back. I don't know why Woody Marks goes after Keaton Mitchell. So I think I'm still looking at 7 wide receivers on my team. If I do get a third quarterback, maybe like a 3-7-7-3. But we will see how it plays out. Hopefully we are going to start getting some news with some of these depth charts and signings. I think there's still a lot out there that we are, directionally doing wrong. Like some of the assumptions that we make on some of these depth charts. I mentioned the Malik Washington one earlier. There's some other ones. Like I know there's been some more positive news on Charbonnet. I don't understand his ADP. Some of these receivers coming up, how we're drafting them. Not so much what's gone off the board yet, but some other ones. It just feels like we're assuming certain guys are ahead of others. And I don't know if that's the case. Mitchell would be one of them. I think people are just so tied to the idea of Mitchell with Mike McDaniel and not realizing, it's probably just a couple snaps a game. Mike saying I'm big on correlating Taylor with Daniel Jones. If JT brings back that mid-first round value, it means TJ is playing like he was last year pre-injury. No, that's fair. I mean, we saw it. Like once Jones got hurt, like JT had like 12-point games, but he was no longer getting those 30-point games. I'm just going to take Fernando Mendoza. Don't have him stacked up. I still want some shares. I think late season, he's the guy. You can look to backstack with like a Jack Best or something like that. But even over Jacoby, Gino, 2 I don't mind, and you could wait on that. But I want some Mendoza. First overall pick. I do think Cousins starts the year, but by the end of the season, Mendoza is probably the guy. And I like his upside in this Clint Kubiak offense. All right, coming here. I think I need to go Dalton Schultz with Stroud. Tight end 2, Strange Schultz feels good. 1-2 tight end punch. Pretty low cost investment to 2 tight ends who, Schultz has been fringe top 10 tight end, usually around tight end 11, 12, number of years of his career. Like I mentioned, Strange was on that pace a year ago. For the prices that I'm getting them, 147, 171, to potentially have, tight end 10 and 12, 9 and 12, something like that. That feels pretty good. You put up wanted posters, Steve. What more do you want? Wait, who is that? You put up wanted posters. Don't think that was... No, I'm trying to remember who that would be a comment or reference to. Oh, Keaton Mitchell. Yes. Yeah. No, the Mike McDaniel. Yeah. No. And I just think, it's like he probably also did about his, fullback and that they got from Miami. And we're not drafting that guy. He's going to get as many touches per game. Probably a couple less. But point being is, it's just, I don't think I would bet on Keaton Mitchell having a big fantasy year. He'll probably hit your lineup once or twice. He's like the Taysom Hill of backup running backs, right? Like he'll have one game where he hits a 60-yard touchdown run and has one or two other catches or carries and has a decent enough fantasy performance, but that's about it. Like there's going to be no consistency to it. I just don't think there's any upside with even with the Hampton injury. And we know Mike McDaniel was very excited about the Brandon Thompson pick in the draft. Like why, we mix him in some late. I definitely have, but he almost assuredly goes undrafted, in the vast majority of drafts. And yet that was another Mike McDaniel guy. I think the issue is, Mitchell had like a 3-game run where he had 2 pretty good fantasy days, despite never really getting more than 10 touches, 3 years ago. And everyone assumes like that's sticky and steady, and it's just not. All right, coming up into round 16 at 3, 4, 6, 2, done at quarterback. Probably just tacking on one more receiver, one more tight end, 3 running backs. I think that's likely the outcome of this team. Some decent running backs here that I would consider. Nice little fall on Brian Robinson if he gets there. I guess I just think people look at efficiency because he'll have one 40-yard run and his yards per carry are good, but that's my point is those runs, it's more the sample is so small. If the sample extends out, he's not going to keep his yards per carry that way. Sean Tucker. That is another running back 10, but I don't mind handcuffing the Gainwell Tucker side of things. And like I say, I'm going 7 running backs. So yeah, it was like the Terrence Ferguson had this comment with Neil yesterday. Terrence Ferguson had these crazy, area ADOT and stuff like that. And it's sure, because he got 3 targets a game and they were downfield. But if he gets 8 targets a game that ADOT's going to come down considerably. So this is one where I don't think the sample we can just clearly extrapolate. Like if somehow he starts getting more, in this case Mitchell, like more carries and targets, and I think that's the other thing, is he just has not been an efficient pass catcher. So, like something's got to give. All right, sitting here, I think I will go. I'll go Pat Fry, get my last tight end. And I guess like in terms of efficiency, he averaged 5.8 yards per carry, but he only had 1 touchdown on 59 carries. That says to me kind of what we can expect what his role to be. Like, he's not going to get any end zone goal line rolls, inside the 20, very limited usage. It's just tough for him to be fantasy relevant. And he only had 12 targets, 9 catches, not efficient, just 63 yards. So he does have breakaway ability, but it's just, we're only going to see that a couple times a year. And two teams fully agree. Probably the T-Ferg thing more, they aren't going to stop doing the deep balls if he gets more short ones too. I agree. It's just not going to be off the charts. This is also like Alec Pierce. Like Alec Pierce has led the league in yards per catch the last 2 years. Well, right now he's dealing with the injury. But if Alec Pierce started getting a lot more short catches, he's probably not cracking 20 yards per catch again. He would still lead the league, maybe not, but it'd still be up there. But he could go down to like 17 yards per catch. Does this mean like, he'd be definitively worse? No, but that's the difference between like a clear starter. The other cases is, like we would like Ferguson. We like him more for the fact that he would be, if he is the tight end starter with the Rams, with Matthew Stafford, with Sean McVay. Like that's the reason we'd like him. I think the Mitchell thing is just so tough because there's no evidence that he would take over the starter. Like he's not done that when, other running backs in his time for the Ravens last year. And I just don't see why that would occur if Hampton this time. I have no idea how the Rams said they need more Parkinson, less Ferg. I get blocking as a factor, but Ferg is vastly more dynamic out there. No, and I think we'll see a lot of them for sure. 2 tight end sets. I just think in the red zone, Parkinson is a 6'7", 270-pound tight end who, still is fairly athletic for his size and has a good catch radius. Ferguson just isn't playing at that level, and nothing wrong with that. He could still be effective in a weapon. So I think Ferg will see a step up. I think from a fantasy standpoint, I like both, but I'm going to lean to the guy who and this is more so an underdog, who just has a much higher touchdown probability. And I need to catch up here because I'm about to be on the clock. I definitely don't want to auto into Brandon Ayuk. So 3 more picks. I'm thinking 1 wide receiver, 2 running backs. I will take Jaden Blue. I was hoping somebody else would fall, but Jaden Blue I like more on DK from the pass game standpoint. He's another one where I don't necessarily think, like, if Javonte goes down, I think it's a committee approach. I don't think Jaden Blue's suddenly getting, 20 carries a game. But he's one where I don't think he's like Mitchell, where he's only like 5 touches a game. He could carve out a more solid role even with no Javonte injury. And then if there is a Javonte injury, I think it would be like a split role between like him and Malik Davis and maybe a little Maffa. So I think I want another running back here first. And I'll take Mike Washington, clear RB2. Not so much because it was stacked up, but I think we're getting some value there. I think he opened some of these contests a little too high because of his pre-draft bet, but now he's probably going a little too late. So, this is when I'll scoop some of the value for it. Agree on the red zone stuff, but they also had Henry, sure. But, Chargers also have Hampton, and, Hampton is big physical running back. Like he's going to be the one gaining all the workload. Upload DK rankings. Yeah, I do need to upload my latest DK ranks. Never Ayuk, absolutely. I need to make sure I never get Ayuk. It's just, I'm happy doing these drafts now where he still goes, because to me it's just such a wasted pick. I just don't even know what upside you're telling yourself anymore. And what's so crazy is so many people have taken him, and this guy did as well, with Jaden Daniels. Good luck to that. I mean, dude trust Jaden and his mom. Don't see that going well. And if I'm Washington, I know the Adam Peters connection to Brandon Ayuk, but if I'm Washington, that's the last thing you need. You had such a bad year in year 2 of Jaden. The last thing you need is any distraction, any issues. Why sign yourself up for that? It's just not, it doesn't make any sense. And they do, particularly that they're not, that him and Jane don't seem to be on the same page. Even if they still were best friends, I would not want that extra drama. And now especially, I'd be so shocked if they went that route. I mean, maybe the first one to do it on Instagram. It is wild. And especially Jaden, I think a lot of people, of course, love their mom, but Jaden and his mom are, very close, right? There's a reason why she's in the Campbell Soup commercial. There's all the reports of, she's his manager and all this stuff. So even, I think it'd be a terrible look for trashing anyone's mom, but when they're that close, and saying it's your team and all this kind of stuff, it's what was Ayuk wrong though? I definitely don't think it'd be Ayuk's team. So yeah, and just it's a choice. I will say that. I have way too much Ayuk, hoping my even bigger exposure shared dare. Diggs finds way to Washington. Yeah, I think the Diggs, or as I said, Debo is still very alive in Washington. I'd be very shocked if Ayuk is still on the table. Yeah, no, Urban might not totally be wrong. And I need to look at all the legal stuff, but him saying he's not going to ask for reinstatement just makes it, from my understanding, makes it easier for the 49ers to just play it out. So yeah, it's a choice. He's making a lot of intriguing choices, I will say that. I like Chris Brazell as a late click. Just spike week guy. I felt really good about my 6 wide receivers. Let's tack on Chris Brazell at the end. Could have considered Jack Besh. I think he was still on the board, but Brazell I think goes a little too late on DK. I think he's the clear third receiver, but they don't have a tight end. And I do think I'm not the greatest Chris Brazell fan. And if you went to a number of other teams, I would have been more out on him. But I do think there's a role and opportunity here in this offense. He's competing with Xavier Legette, who's shown nothing, done nothing. And that's about it at wide receiver. And there's no tight end to speak of. And even their running backs are not like great pass catching running backs. So it's not like, like the people talk about the no wide receiver 2 emerge for the Steelers last year. And it's because all those targets went to the running backs, Gainwell and Warren, and then their 3 tight end combo. Well, the Panthers aren't going to do that. Like their running backs are not going to get the target share. Now, granted, there is Coker here. We know who the wide receiver 2 is, but their running backs are, I would imagine, being the bottom third of running back target share, and their tight ends might be dead last. I mean, at least bottom 5. Cannot imagine Tremble, Sanders, and maybe Mitchell Evans. I think Mitchell Evans might end up being the best of the 3. Coming anywhere close to combining for like 100 plus targets. So, yeah, I think a third wide receiver would have some opportunity for the Panthers, even if their offense remains kind of stagnant. Pretty sure old Cougar tamer Zach Wilson has smashed other players. No, wouldn't be shocked there, Mike. So let me review my team. I'll review Mike's team. We'll get out of here. So I go 3-7-7-3, a little different build structure. Do Caleb, with CJ Stroud and Mendoza. Talked about that. I mean, this is clearly a mainly Caleb team. I like Stroud. I think the Texans offense can be much better this year with a little bit improved offensive line. And Mendoza, down the stretch, love the Raiders playoff schedule. Didn't, really stack it up, but want some extra shares of him. Of course, running back went 7. It's kind of a cobbled together room. Swift, Stevenson, Kenneth Gainwell, and then Sean Tucker, Jaden Blue, and Mike Washington Jr. So, handcuff the Bucs. Do have a lot of Week 10 exposure. That's going to be a thin week for me. Hopefully Blue and Washington can help out a little there. I missed Aaron Jones also. Aaron Jones. So I really am going to rely on Ramondre, Aaron Jones, and those 2 guys. Not the greatest for that week. But I do like the double Tampa backs, especially where I got Sean Tucker and Gainwell. I think there can be a lot of fantasy points from those 2 guys. So not my favorite running back room. But I do like what the receiver room is, and that's Jamar Chase, Nico Collins, Devonta Smith, Luther Burden, Michael Pittman Jr. That 5 is super strong. Romeo Doubs as my 6th. Feels great. And then just tacked on Chris Brazell at the end. Like I felt like I could wait pretty late at that point with those top 6. I don't really have buy overlap. Burden and Smith week 10. But other than that, Chase 6, Nico 8, Pittman 9, and Doubs 11. So feel very, very good at how that room turned out. Then tight end wise, I waited, but I get Brenton Strange. I get Schultz, who's also stacked, and then Pat Freiermuth. So still get 3 starters. Don't have a big investment there. Not my favorite team. It's one that would not, basically it's living and dying by the Bears, right? Like Caleb, Swift, Luther Burden. If the Bears are good, then this team is alive. If not, it's in some serious trouble. Buddy Man's team here, he goes 3-6-8-3. Quarterback wise, Joe Burrow, Bo Nix. I like that 1-2 combo, and Daniel Jones. Similar to what I did the first draft. 3 good starting quarterbacks. Burrow, Nix. Nix just goes too late in these drafts. I don't understand why he goes this late. And I think he remains one of the better quarterback values out there. Guy's finished quarterback 7, first 2 years in the league. No reason he can't be a top 10 quarterback again, and he's now clearly outside the top 10. Running back wise, Jonathan Taylor, Bucky Irving, Rico Dowdle, Blake Corum. So pretty solid investment there. Jonah Coleman late or later, and then Najee Harris as the 6. I think Harris is a reasonable tack on. Hopefully we start to get some news on him, like those receivers we talked about before. But, last round click for Najee, I think if he signs anywhere, he's increasing his value. Receiver-wise, A.J. Brown, T. Higgins, Alec Pierce, Higgins and Pierce stacked up. Concepcion, McMillan. So I think the receiver room, that's a solid top 5. Hunter is like kind of a spike week potential guy. Dontavian Wicks, Pat Bryant stacked up with Bo Nix. I like how the receiver room came together. Not, kind of like a double anchor, A.J. Brown, T. Higgins, and then kind of took the Alec Pierce fall and then some other guys. But I'm bullish on Concepcion. I think he can be wide receiver 1 on his team and should more than pay off his value. And then, kind of ping pong guys like McMillan and Hunter, Wicks, guys with a little bit more upside and some spike week potential, I think is fun. Tight end wise, Loveland, and then tacked on Terrence Ferguson, who we talked about some, and Mike Gesicki. So Gesicki also stacked up with 2 athletic tight ends who can get some spike weeks as well. So went for some ceiling from a tight end standpoint, and Loveland is your consistent week in, week out guy. Get some spike weeks. Maybe they hit your flex every now and then, but not too much investment for backups there, which I think makes sense when you invest in Loveland. Like either normally if I'm going Loveland, I'm taking only 2 tight ends, or like that, like 2 really later guys to balance it out. So that was a fun draft. Those $3 drafts can get a little crazy at times, but that turned out pretty well. Huheem saying Nix has become my highest owned DK quarterback. Yeah, he just goes so late. Honestly, he's going so late in underdog as well. Like Nix is going to end up being one of my highest owned quarterbacks kind of across the board if this keeps up. And I talked about this with Neil yesterday. Like, I don't know if people are just, because of the foot injury, like thinking that he won't run. Maybe he runs a little less, but I also think they were very inefficient from a touchdown standpoint passing last year. I think that could change. They had to settle for a lot of field goals. Could easily see them be far more efficient throwing the football this year, particularly with Jalen Waddle now added to the mix. So I'm willing to bet on Bo Nix having a pretty good 3rd year and continuing to be a good fantasy quarterback. I appreciate you, Mike. Appreciate you for jumping in. Thanks everyone for watching, for joining, for chatting. I'm going to get on out of here. Like I said before, Meg and I will be on with PPR Tyler tonight at 7 p.m. on his channel. And then tomorrow I'll be back in the afternoon. And then Best Ball Jeopardy, Huheem's versus Nice and Blunt tomorrow night. So hope everyone has a good rest of the day. Catch me on PPR Tyler's channel in a couple hours, 7 p.m. Eastern. And I will see you then. Talk to you later. Bye.
If you're serious about crushing Best Ball in 2026, the Fanspeak Best Ball Guide is built for you. Inside, you'll find breakdowns for all 32 NFL teams, including coaching notes, strengths, weaknesses, and key stats to help you understand every offense heading into draft season. We've also created player profiles for every draftable Best Ball player, featuring advanced metrics, MVP stats, production data, and exclusive spike week charts that highlight league-winning performances. Looking for rookie analysis? Steve, our rookie guru, breaks down this year's incoming rookie class so you know which rookies to prioritize. And whether you're playing season-long, eliminator, or superflex best ball formats, you'll get strategy articles designed specifically for each contest type. The goal is simple. Put all the information you need in one place so you can draft with confidence all season long. The 2026 Fanspeak Best Ball Guide is available exclusively for paid Fanspeak Degen subscribers. Check the links below to join today and unlock everything you need to attack best ball season with an edge over your competition. Fanspeak's Best Ball Guide. Draft smarter, win more, and we'll see you at the top of the leaderboards.